Good morning, Bill. Can you hear us?
I can hear you just fine, Nick.
What about with the mask on? Can you hear me with the mask on?
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, I may try it. It seems to me I'm muffled, but Cynthia, good morning. Glad to see you. Can you hear me, Cynthia? Is she muted?
One of the things that I've encountered in doing hearings is that if you are shuffling papers near a microphone, that blocks out all other testimony.
All righty. We'll try to remember that. And if you'll make notes, it happens, and then we'll try to see if we can correct ourselves. Or if it gets unbearable, just let me know. Good morning, Cynthia. I think I heard you check in.
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. Glad to see you again. Even though remotely.
That's good.
Can you let Mr. Meeker in yet? Okay.
I've not seen this meeting.
So the two panelists are the ones we're seeing right now. And then, okay, all right. So we'll give us a second. Is everybody ready? Gary's ready? Steve, Ian, Alan? All right,
Chairman,
Brett?
who is behind Ms. Michelle?
Who is what?
Steve.
Steve, okay.
Can you see him? Which you don't need to see him particularly, but.
I see. He's just.
Okay, just a long distance shot. Okay.
I can.
Okay. Well, we're all a pretty good distance away, so that works. So we probably will not wear our mask all the time. Not necessary to wear it with this distance. So it's up to the individual listener. All right, let's call the meeting of the North Carolina Property Tax Commission for July 28th order issue. And for the calendar today, we have a case in Henderson County. The second case, the Harper case in Henderson, has been continued. The third case is from Lincoln County, and that's a motion to dismiss. And then we have some late or no AB 14 for today. So we will hear them in the order that they appear on the calendar. And the first case is from Henderson County, ELP Real Estate, LLC, 19 Property Tax Commission, 0158. The motion for summary judgment. Henderson County is represented by Mr. Charles Meeker. And do we have anybody who is appearing today for the taxpayer appellant, ELP Real Estate, LLC?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think Mr. Meeker and the others have been moved up to be panelists so that you can see or hear them.
Alexandria, have you got, I see Mr. Meeker's initials, but no video.
Mr. Chairman, I'm on mute. Can you hear me?
Charles, I can hear you. Yes. Okay, I'll remove my mask since someone says it's muffled, and I was afraid that might happen. Mr. Meeker. Mr. Meeker, you'll have to cut on your camera for us to see you. There you go. There you are. Good morning. And right now we're not hearing you, so
Is that better?
Unmuted? Yes, that's good. Now we hear you and see you.
Okay, great.
And I see somebody from Henderson County. Is that, are they one of your parties, Mr. Meeker?
Yes, the staff is going to listen and not participate in the hearing this morning.
Okay, all right. Well, I assume they can see us. We just can't see them. Is that right, Alexandria? Okay, all right. Well, that's fine. Let me ask again, is there anybody here online who is reporting to represent ELP Real Estate LLC in this matter? Yep, if you will, so we can inquire. Ms. Morgan, can you hear me? This is Chairman Hunter. Sherry Morgan?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, can you tell us in what capacity you're online with us this morning?
Yes, I am representing Cornerstone Family Church International.
I'm sorry, you represent who?
A Cornerstone Family Church International?
Okay, so you're with one of the other cases.
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right, well, that's fine. You're welcome to stay on. You just won't be a panelist, won't be able to participate. But we were checking to make sure no one is here on behalf of ELP Real Estate LLC. So you can remove Ms. Morgan as a panelist for this case, Alexandria. All right, I think we're ready to proceed and hear from you, Mr. Beaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, good to see you and the other members of the panel. For the record, my name is Charles Meeker with the Parker Poe firm, and I am representing Henderson County in this matter. This is Henderson County's motion for summary judgment in that the taxpayer, ELP Real Estate, has not shown good cause for submitting its present use value application 11 months 8 in 2018. This all occurred some 2 years ago, well prior to COVID, and is set out in the affidavit of D. Hill, which supports the motion for summary judgment. What happened here is that a present use forest plan was submitted on behalf of the taxpayer in January of 2018, but no application for present use.
Mr. Baker, let me interrupt you 1 second. There are some announcements that I need to make that probably need to do first. And one is that the meeting, this meeting is being recorded, both audio and video, for live streaming purposes. And each party should ensure that their witnesses have joined the meeting. You don't have any witnesses, so that doesn't apply. And there's no witnesses to check in for this case. And any other participants should mute their mics unless speaking. And all the parties will need to take care to avoid speaking at the same time. That shouldn't be an issue at this time. And if one of the commissioners or other participants requests the chair's attention, all parties are to stop talking until recognized by the chair. Okay, Mr. Meeker, sorry for interrupting.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The motion for summary judgment is for the taxpayer's failure to timely file for present use status in the tax year 2018, 2 years ago. What happened here is that a forest management plan was submitted in early 2018 in January, but no application for present use status was submitted on behalf of the taxpayer. In Henderson County, such applications are due during the listing period, which is the first month of each year, that is January of 2018. When the tax bills went out in August, there was no present use value applied to this property, and the taxpayer inquired as to why that was so. The taxpayer was advised on August 9th, 2018, that while there was a forestry plan, there was no application. Now, instead of filing the application right away, the taxpayer waited until December 18th, some 4 months later, to submit the application, which was 11 months after it was due and over 4 months after the taxpayer became aware that the application was due. The county believes, and the UNOR board found, that the taxpayer had not shown good cause for filing the application. While there was some confusion on the taxpayer's part from January to August, in early August, the taxpayer knew that the application was due and took no steps to file it for over 4 months. This case is similar to the Martha and Bryce case, which we submitted to you from Wilson County, where a taxpayer there also failed to file in a timely manner and didn't follow up once notified an application was canceled. So for those reasons, we believe that the taxpayer has failed to show good cause in submitting the late application and that this appeal should be dismissed. Just so that the commission will know, the taxpayer did appeal in a timely manner in 2019 and is in the present use program as of 2019, but did not file a timely application in 2018. So with that, we'd request that this motion for summary judgment be granted and this appeal dismissed. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the commission may have.
All right, let me ask Mr. Pelfrey, and I'm doing it, he's our general counsel and secretary, also our commissioners. From the far back behind me is Vice Chairman Wheeler. To my immediate left is Chairman Guest, it's Commissioner Guest and Commissioner Show behind him. And we have joining us remotely is Commissioner Peasley and our stenographer, Ms. Cynthia Rice. Alfred, the taxpayer appellate gives proper notice of today's hearing.
Mr. Chairman, by letter dated July 9th, our office advised both the taxpayer and the county of today's virtual hearing, the time and date, meeting link for today's hearing.
And I understand no AB 63 was filed.
That's correct. No AB 63 has been.
And no attorney has appeared today to represent ELP in this matter. All right, questions from the commissioners? Is there a motion in this matter?
So moved.
Have the motion to grant the summary judgment second in this matter by Vice Chairman Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Guest. I don't see any need for us to go into topic and discuss this matter unless requested by some commissioner. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the matter. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of granting Henderson County's motion for summary judgment, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And it's unanimous that the ayes have it. Mr. Peasley, I didn't hear you, but did you vote aye?
I voted aye, yes, sir.
I thought you did. Okay. All right, Mr. Meeker, we appreciate it. Let us know if there's anything in how we are doing this. We happen to be our first hearing virtually. So if you have suggestions, questions, comments, please let Mr. Pelfrey know, and we will try to take them into consideration. Just 1 second, Ms. Rice has a question on that. You'll have to unmute. You're still muted. Cynthia, you're still muted. I'm sorry.
Is it better?
There you go. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Meeker said that this case was similar to a county, and to repeat that case number, please, or the case name.
Yes,
Similar to the Bryce case, I believe. Is that correct?
that's correct. From Wilson County, Martha and Bryce.
Martha and Bryce.
B-R-I-C-E.
And that was
That's correct.
B-R-I-C-E. And that was a decision of this commission on July 17th, 2020.
Thank you.
All right. Any other things, Ms. Rice? Okay.
No, thanks.
All right. So,
Chairman.
thank you very much, Mr. Meeker.
Thank
Mr. Peasley, any comments or suggestions from your end as to how you see it going? Working okay? You're still muted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
The only thing I would mention is, again, any movement of papers when you have a live microphone on your table will interfere with what other people can hear. And therefore, in my opinion, for future reference, maybe not for this hearing, we need to either turn those microphones off when someone's not speaking so that it can be heard The other thing I would ask, and I don't, Cynthia Rice fell off a little bit. At least her camera stopped, so I don't know if her system has the bandwidth. So I don't know if she was able to hear everything continuously. And if she says she was, then fine.
So far, I have been able to hear.
Okay, great.
Good, you heard that, I guess.
And the other thing I would reiterate is it is critically important to not talk over one another, just from my perspective.
I would
Let me
add
just,
also that you need to be careful not to speak too fast.
I'll just speak slowly. Okay. Let me ask, are you hearing when I move these papers, Bill?
No, when you move your papers, I was not, although not to point anyone out, when I think when Mr. Guess and Ms. Michaud moved their papers, it did pick up on the mic. I was still able to hear what Mr. Meeker was saying, but it did pick it up, and that can cause a problem. I said it wasn't in this time, but I don't know what the technological solution to that is.
Let's try this then. Alex, why don't you mute your mic and see? All right, it's muted now, and ruffle your papers. Bill, are you hearing anything now from when he ruffles the papers?
No, I'm not.
All right, why don't you put it back on, Alex, and let's try it again. Now try ruffling your papers.
It is loud and robust.
Okay.
I will mute my mic. Thank you.
All right, so that helps us because we were going to leave them on initially unless we had issues with it. So I think we probably ought to cut them off, put them on mute, and then as you need to unmute it. I'll hear you if you say you need to get my attention. I was going to leave mine on right now. And I'll hear you, and then you can put it on. You'll know not to ruffle your papers unless you look at something. We'll work on that. Thank you, Bill. That helps having you there.
Chairman,
Yes.
do you wish to stay on the record? You've been on the record this entire time.
Well, we can go off the record for the purposes of that. I don't know that it makes a great deal, but we can go off for that till we get ready for our next one, which is probably going to be pretty shortly. Any more procedural things that we need to work on? Charles, you're still on. You're welcome to stay. You'll probably be put on attendee rather than panelist. You're not involved in the other cases, are you?
No, I'm not, and I was going to say that it worked fine from my end here. I'm assuming you could hear me, but I could hear you very well and see you well.
Okay, all right, good. Cynthia, anything else from you? You're still on mute, Cynthia, I think. I didn't hear you. I'm still seeing your mute button. There's a little symbol beside your name and it shows that you're still muted. You're still muted.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Alexandria can unmute me.
Alexandra, is she muted from your end?
Am I
She's not
muted?
muted. There you go, I think. Let's see. No, you just went back on mute.
Is it better now?
There you go. You're off mute. Okay. All right. So any other?
First time on WebEx.
Okay. Well, we're all. We had a practice session, and but we're pretty new as well. Some of us have done Zoom. I had not done WebEx until these. All right. That first case is behind us now. We'll go back on the record, I guess, Alexandria and Cynthia. And our next case for hearing today is the Lincoln County Edwin Baker 19 Property Tax Commission 0352, and a motion to dismiss. And the county, Lincoln County, is represented by Wesley Deaton and Mr. Bart McLean. And it shows on here the appellant is appearing pro se, and there's a motion to dismiss filed by Lincoln County in this matter. I see Mr. McLean. Good morning, Mr. McLean.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Looks like are you working from home or are you in the office?
Oh, I'm at home this morning.
Okay. Is there somebody here from the taxpayer, Mr. Edward Baker, in this matter? Is anybody else logged on, Alexandria, that you can see? Mr. McLean, have you had any contact from Mr. Baker as far as to whether or not someone would be here today on his behalf?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right, well, we'll go ahead and hear this motion to dismiss that you've filed. Mr. McLean, there's no witnesses or anyone, so I'm not going to read these little bullet points in this matter. I assume you've probably done some virtual hearings by now, Mr. McLean?
No, actually, this is my first.
It is? Well, this is our second. Charlie Meeker beat you by just a little bit. How about Zoom meetings, or have you had some Zoom meetings?
Oh, we've done some Zoom meetings.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
This was my first WebEx.
All right. Let me ask Ms. Rice, you don't have to unmute, but can you hear everything okay now? She's nodding affirmatively. And so we have, were you able to see before, Mr. McLean, when we introduced the commissioners? And so you're familiar with who your commission panel is. We do have Mr. Peasley, who's remote today.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. We'll go ahead and hear from you in this motion to dismiss from Lincoln County.
All right. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, no one likes to see a taxpayer lose their right to appeal because they're late by a couple of days. But as the commission knows, the law on this matter is very clear. 1 day is as bad as 10 days. And in this particular case, the taxpayer's appeal to the commission was received 2 days late. And as I set out in the motion, and basically everything you need is in the motion, thank goodness, since video hearings are a little bit awkward these days. But at any rate, the Lincoln County Board sent a notice of its decision on June the 28th by certified mail. The post office attempted to deliver that on July the 1st, left a notice. Left another reminder on July the 6th, and then a package return notice was generated on July 16th. Lincoln County took notice of that package return notice and sent a regular mail letter to the taxpayer saying basically that the certified mail hasn't been picked up and reminding them of the deadline for appeal. I'm on the second page of my motion now. On August the 1st, the Property Tax Commission received a notice of appeal and application for hearing from the taxpayers. A copy of that is attached as Exhibit 3. It has stamps on the envelope, but no postmark. And you can see the lack of the postmark on Exhibit 4. It does have a stamp indicating that it was received by the Department of Revenue on August the 1st. On August the 5th, the commission sent a letter acknowledging receipt, saying that it was filed on August the 1st, which was the date of receipt in the office of the commission, and advising the taxpayer that it appeared to be late. 290E provides that there is a 30-day deadline. 290G, I'm on page 3 of my motion at this point, says that a notice of appeal submitted to the Property Tax Commission by United States mail is considered to be filed on the date shown on the postmark stamped by the U.S. Postal Service. If an appeal submitted by United States mail is not postmarked or the postmark does not show the date of mailing, then it is considered filed on the date received. And it concludes with a property owner who files an appeal with the commission has the burden of proving that the appeal is timely. I included as the last exhibit to my motion a copy of the Bass Income Fund case. And in that case, there was no doubt at all that the envelope containing that notice of appeal was mailed on or before the 30th day. Unfortunately, the taxpayer used a postal meter, and therefore the envelope was not postmarked. So when it arrived at the office of the commission, it was acknowledged as filed on the date received, not on the postmark, not on the postal meter date. There being no postmark, and basically, as the Court of Appeals says in the middle of the second page of their opinion, there are basically three categories created under the statute. The first concerns notices of appeal submitted to the commission by methods other than the post office. These are considered filed on the date received by the commission. The second category is notices submitted to the commission by the Postal Service and which carry a postmark stamped by the Postal Service indicating the date of mailing. These are accorded legislative favor and are treated as filed on the postmark date. The third legislative category appears to have been designed to encompass those notices submitted through the Postal Service which, for whatever reason, do not display a postmark or which bear a postmark not containing a date. These are regarded as filed upon receipt by the commission. And that is the category into which this appeal falls. The envelope bears no postmark date, and therefore it is considered filed on the day it is received. And unfortunately for the taxpayer, that day was 2 days late. And that's all there is to it. Under the statute, 2 days is the same as 20, and would respectfully ask that the commission dismiss the appeal.
All right, questions from any of the commissioners? Mr. Guest?
Mr. McLean, I note that the AV 14 and all correspondence appears to have the taxpayer's address of 2295 Pine Valley Drive. Do you believe that to be an accurate address?
Mr. Guest, I have no personal knowledge of the taxpayer's address.
Have you received anything from the taxpayer as to why this was filed late?
No, I have not, and to the best of my knowledge, neither has Lincoln County.
And I'd like to confirm from Mr. Pelfrey that the taxpayer was notified of the meeting today. Pelfrey?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Guest, by letter dated July 9th, the parties, including Mr. Baker, were all notified of today's hearing with the time, the date, and the meeting link and password.
All right. And Alexandra, is anybody else signed in to the meeting that might to be here, or anybody here that, again, on behalf of Mr. Baker? All right. Okay. Further questions? Do I hear a motion?
I move to dismiss.
Mr. Guest moves to dismiss.
Second.
Seconds, all right, we'll do Mr. Peasley. We need to, as a second, we need to get him as an active participant or acting panelist on the record virtually. All right, any more discussion as to this matter? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor of the motion, Lincoln County to dismiss Mr. Baker's appeal, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it, it's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. McLean. If you have any comments or suggestions about virtual hearings and how we're doing them, please share with us now. If you have anything, if you think of something later, please let Mr. Pelfrey know.
I think you're doing the best you can, and I'm sure we'll all be much happier when we can resume normal hearings.
Well, we miss your smiley face. Ms. Rice, could you get everything in that matter?
Yes, I did.
All right. You're getting that down now. You unmuted. Thank you. All right, then we'll go off the record for a moment, and we'll get ready for the next case. I don't think you have to do anything else other than I think you probably just will not be recording this. Did I hear? Well, I haven't gotten that far yet. If he does, then we'll keep him on. And
I think I have another motion before you, Mr. Chairman.
okay, yeah, thank you. Pointed that out. I hadn't gotten that next file yet. Alexander, you had something you wanted to say? Still hear what we say. Well, that's all right. It just means that she won't have to record. If we get something sensitive, we'll have you take care of so they can't. Okay, the next case before us, we're back on the record then, is the Goodson Family Properties LLC matter, and this is 19 Property Tax Commission 0285. And again, from Lincoln County, and a motion to dismiss the appeal. And Mr. Bart McLean is also representing Lincoln County in this matter. Do we have anybody that's attending from the Goodson Family Properties LLC? Anybody showing online, Alexandra, that would be? No one is showing else online for the hearing. Mr. Pelfrey, is an AV 63 filed in this matter?
Mr. Chairman, excuse the delay. I do not see in the file where an AB 63 form has been filed in this matter. And while I have the microphone, the parties were notified by letter dated July 9th of today's hearing. These were letters that went to Lincoln County, to Mr. McLean, and to Mr. Howard F. Goodson Jr. on behalf of Goodson Family Properties.
All right.
Dated July 9th in the today's meeting information.
It appears proper notice has been given to the Goodson Family Properties LLC. Again, since there's no other parties or attorneys present, I won't read the announcements. All right, Mr. McLean, we'll hear from you as to this matter.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, in this case, the taxpayer filed a timely application for hearing, but unfortunately failed to file, as Mr. Pelfrey has just stated, failed to file the form AV 63 and is therefore subject to being dismissed on that basis. I'm on the top of the second page of my motion. On July the 12th, the Property Tax Commission acknowledged receipt of the Form AV 14, and in the acknowledgement letter, the Commission Secretary advised the taxpayer that authority for and prior written notice of non-attorney representation must be filed with the Commission within 30 days of filing the notice of appeal, ends July 8, 2019, or the appeal may be subject to dismissal. On April the 14th, I received an email from Mr. Pelfrey advising that as of that date, no AV 63 had been filed, and as he just said, that is still true today. No AV 63 has yet been filed. 290D2 provides that if a property owner is a business entity may represent itself using a non-attorney representative, but the statute provides authority for and prior notice of non-attorney representation shall be made in writing under penalty of perjury to the commission on a form provided by the commission. The next page, the admin code provides parties appearing before the property tax commission may either represent themselves as natural persons or shall be represented by an attorney licensed to practice law in North Carolina, except as provided for in GS 105-290D2. This requirement shall not be waived by the commission. Notice of non-attorney representation pursuant to GS 105-290D2 shall be filed with the commission within 30 days of filing a notice of appeal, or the appeal shall be subject to dismissal. It's short and simple. Here we are at a hearing. The taxpayer has been advised by the commission that they need to file this form. I've filed a motion to dismiss on that basis, and I have received no communication from the taxpayer, nor to my knowledge has Lincoln County received any communication or response from the taxpayer. And again, I have at the end of the motion a copy of the Fayetteville Hotel Associates case, which says that dismissal of a taxpayer's appeal is an appropriate sanction for taxpayers' failure to comply with Rule 216. And on that basis, I would respectfully request that the commission dismiss the appeal for failure to file the Form AV63 by 7 August 2019, or indeed by today's date. Thank you.
All right, questions from any of the commissioners? Seeing and hearing none and being advised that proper notice was given to the taxpayer of today's hearing, and Lincoln County having filed a motion to dismiss since that AB 63 has not been filed and nobody's here today, do I hear a motion? Have a motion from Mr. Guest to grant the motion to dismiss filed on behalf of Lincoln County. Second by Ms. Michelle. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor of granting Lincoln County's motion to dismiss this appeal, say aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Ayes have it. So thank you very much. Let me ask, and we can go off the record now. I'm hearing a little squeaking, and I'm not sure. Is anybody moving anything? And I'm thinking it might be Ms. Rice's mask. It may be just how it's moving on your mask. It's not. I can still hear it.
I had my microphone muted so that you shouldn't be able to hear anything from my end.
Okay. So if you're muted, it should not be. You should not be that. It was kind of a squeaking. Did other people hear it? Yes, they did. So we don't know what it was. It wasn't unbearable, so there's no need to stop. But we'll see. I hear a little bit still of it, so I don't know exactly where it's coming from. But it's not unbearable, and we'll probably have those types of things happen. All right, Mr. McLean, again, if you have anything to suggest, please let us know, and we're finished except for our AB 14 matters. You're welcome to stay on as an attendee unless you have one of those that are on the calendar, and it's nice to see you.
I think that's all I have for today, Mr. Chairman. So I'll be logging off shortly, but I wish you all the best and hope everyone stays healthy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. All right. All right. We'll try to do that. I guess. Yeah. Could you hear that? Mr. Peasley, that whoever's monitoring us to be able to determine how it's going said they could not hear when someone was making a motion. So we'll try to turn on our microphones when someone is making a motion. Could you hear it, Chairman Peasley? I mean, Mr. Peasley?
I heard something, but no, when someone's making a motion, although, Mr. Chairman, I think it would suffice if you acknowledge, without them turning the microphone on,
Right.
Mr.
Which
Guest.
I did. Yeah. I wonder if they could hear me when I said who was making the motion, Alexandra, if you can check, and if they can, then it's going to be on the record and it's okay, because I'm repeating the motion as far as who made it.
I heard it just fine.
Okay.
Chairman, I heard it just fine.
Okay, good. All right. So it may be just the attendees are having an issue. They ought to be able to hear me when I repeat it. Hopefully. I'll try to always repeat it. Okay, all right. Right. Okay, so that finishes the regular motion hearings today. We do have some AB 14s that are late or not filed. So we'll go into those matters. We're still on the record. Do we have anybody else on, Alexandria, that may be representing one of these parties? I think Ms. Morgan, she's still on, and
Yes, I'm still.
okay. Well, I'll call these in order, and but for purposes, Ms. Morgan, you are here on which matter?
For Cornerstone Family Church property tax,
Okay.
we have attorney John Adcock representing us.
Which one is that, Mr. Palfrey? Oh, the Wake County. Yeah, read right over it. Thank you. So we have Ms. Morgan, and who's the attorney online representing?
John Adcock.
And is he online now? Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that one first, since we have those parties. And we'll take out the Wake County matter, Cornerstone Family Church International, which is 20 Property Tax Commission 0073. Mr. Adcock?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We hear you. We do not see you. So can you cut on your video?
I think I have it on, Mr. Chairman. Oh, there we go.
Let's see. There you go. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And we hear you. All right. And so you're here representing Cornerstone Family Church International, and Mrs. Morgan is with Cornerstone. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes.
I serve as church administrator.
Okay, but not an attorney, correct? Okay.
Yes, right.
And let me ask, is anybody here from Wake County in this matter appearing? Okay, let the record show that nobody's here on behalf of Wake County. All right, let's see, let me ask Mr. Pelfrey to kind of set in motion. Let me ask Mr. Adcock, is Ms. Morgan going to be a witness in this case?
Mr. Chairman, I anticipate providing a presentation. I don't know that her testimony will be needed, but if it is, I would like to have that option, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, right now we'll not have her sworn if you don't think she may testify. If she's going to testify, obviously we'll stop and get her sworn, and Ms. Rice can do that if it's needed. Mr. Pelfrey, anything you want to tell us about this before we get into the?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, this matter was set for hearing today for the commission to consider dismissing the underlying appeal for failure to file the AB 14 form on On February 18th, we're showing as having received a letter from Ms. Morgan on behalf of the church explaining the situation, that there was a denial of an exemption request with the county. Our office treated that as a notice of an appeal from a decision of the local board, and sent on February 19th, sent to the church in care of Ms. Morgan a letter indicating that we had received what appeared to be an appeal, but that the application was incomplete in two respects. One is that it did not include a copy of the county board's decision letter, that is, the decision from which an appeal would have been made. And in addition to that, our office sent copies of Form AB 63 and Form AB 14, along with information on the deadlines for filing each of those documents. The AB 63 issue is not an issue in this case at this point because the church has counsel. So the non-attorney election is not an issue. However, since the letter dated February 19th, our office has still not received either a copy of any decision from the local board from which to appeal, or copies of a completed copy of Form AB 14. And accordingly, on July 9th, our office sent notice to the county and to the church in care of Ms. Morgan, notice of today's hearing. Of course, the county does not normally appear at these AB 14 matters because it's really between the commission and the appellant. Nonetheless, the county was notified of today's meeting with the link. We did realize that that link contained an error in that we said 9 p.m. rather than 9 a.m. So on July 17th, we followed up with another letter saying it's actually 9 a.m., but otherwise the same link information. So again, this matter is here today solely on the issue of the AB 14 not being filed. And to date, we have still not received an AB 14.
All right, Mr. Adcock, we won't get into the merits of the case. The only thing before us today is the AB 14 not having been filed, and I assume not filed yet. And so what would you want us to know about this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, John Adcock with the Adcock Law Firm in Fuquay-Varina, member of the Wake County Bar. I was contacted by Cornerstone regarding this matter. The underlying issue is, and I don't mean to, Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to go too deep into the merits of the issue, but this is a church. They were organized as a nonprofit corporation in 2012. In 2019, they purchased a piece of property in Wake County that was the previous owner was also a church, and the property was in exempt status prior to my client purchasing that property. They purchased the property on May 20th, 2019. When the transaction was closed, Mr. Chairman, the address identified on the deed for the grantee, which would be my client, was incorrect. The address was not related to my client. It was a mistake, and so there was not a correct address on the deed that went on record. And of course, the county used that grantee's address for purposes of providing notice regarding tax matters. So based on my understanding of the facts, Mr. Chairman, the county did send out an application for exemption to the church during 2019, but the church did not receive it. The county also sent a 2019 tax bill to the church in 2019, and the church did not receive it. In January of this year, the church became aware of it and contacted the county. The church submitted an exemption application for 2019 and also an exemption application for 2020. The application was accepted. The 2019 application for exemption was not accepted by the county. And based on my understanding of the facts, Mr. Chairman, the county indicated that based on GS 105-282.1A1 that this was a late application for exemption, and the county did not have the jurisdiction to accept an application outside of the calendar year for the tax year in which is at issue. So the underlying issue is, Mr. Chairman and commissioners, is that an incorrect address has led to this point. Well, to the point, in fact, where the exemption was not allowed. So there's not, to my knowledge, Mr. Chairman, there's not been a decision rendered by Wake County regarding this by the Equalization Board. The tax administrator for Wake County, based on my understanding of the facts, Mr. Chairman, stated that because the application was not filed prior to the end of the expiration or end of 2019, the county did not have the jurisdiction to render a decision on it, and the tax administrator recommended the church to proceed with an appeal before the Department of Revenue, and that's why we're here today. Well, the basis of the case. So the and also by the way, I did speak with Mr. Kenneth Murphy, Assistant Wake County Attorney, late yesterday afternoon. He was the attorney on record based on the documentation I've received for the county. While he did not render an opinion or a position on this motion, he did state that it was not his motion and that he most likely would not be appearing today. But he did provide me some background information on this. So, Mr. Chairman, we're prepared to submit. I want to prepared to assist the church with submitting the AV 14. I can do it just as soon as possible. And we would like this dismissal not to proceed, and that this matter be set for hearing for the appeal, because I believe strongly, Mr. Chairman, that the facts in this case clearly show there's good cause for allowing a late application, and the property had been in exempt status. Well, I know that's not ultimately bearing on this matter, but had been in exempt status since the late 80s and is now in exempt status for 2020. The tax bill right now is around $35,000 for year 2019. And this is a small church, and it will be an extensive, a very dire, significant financial hurdle for the church to be able to come up with the proceeds to pay this tax bill. So, Mr. Chairman, we'd like to ask the commission to allow this matter to proceed without dismissal and allow the church the opportunity to submit the AV 14, and I can personally have that prepared and provided to the commission in very quick order.
All right, so as I understand, we were not getting into the merits of the case. The only thing before us is whether or not we dismiss this on our motion for the lack of AV 14. You've indicated that we do not dismiss it on our own motion, that you will file, I would assume, within the next 30 days, the AV 14. Let me ask Mr. Pelfrey, as to the fact that no decision, how does that get remedied? It seems like that shouldn't kick them out, since the county has said they won't render an official opinion.
Right, Mr. Chairman. Again, I guess the only issue for today is whether or not the AB 14 situation can be resolved. There may be other issues which would come up that I guess would have to be addressed in turn. But at this point, you know, any issues as far as the underlying appeal would necessarily involve the county, and all of that I think would need to be dealt with at another time, if the commission is willing to extend the time in which to file the AB 14.
Well, let me ask this question. Assuming we're going to grant it, I thought that you indicated that there were two issues as to whether or not the appeal could go forward, and one of them was that there was no decision by the county. I was just trying to prevent it coming back before us on that issue again, since it seems like that ought to be some way that they could either not have to have it or get something from the county.
So generically, there are several steps here and several potential issues, it sounds to me, according to what we've heard this morning. whether or not there was a timely application, whether or not it was filed within the same calendar year, whether or not there was an appeal from any denial of an application by the local board. So there are several steps along the way that are potential issues here, and I don't know about the underlying appeal, just again, based on sort of things that pop into my mind based on what I hear.
Well, let me stop you there. You're not gonna bring it back to us if they file the AB 14 because there is no final decision. Or you have to get back into that?
This is an administrative decision, and then once this is resolved one way or the other, if the appeal is still active, then the county would be involved. You know, the county raises whatever issues they may have, the appellant raises whatever issues they may have.
All right, questions from commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mr. Peasley?
Who was Mr. Adcock, were you the closing attorney when the property was acquired?
No, I was not.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chairman Wheeler?
Steve, the letter that you mailed or the staff sent on February 18th, did it have the correct address? And did Miss Morgan receive it?
Mr. Vice Chairman, the letter that we made, that our office mailed on February 19th went to the church at Post Office Box 357 in Fuquay, Verena. That is the address that was provided to our office in connection with the documents that we got. So we sent both that letter to the post office box and the notice for today's meetings to that post office box. So we believe it's an accurate address.
Is it the correct address, Mr. Adcock?
Yes, it is.
And there was no response from the church to that letter?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Commissioner, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Mr. Guest?
Mr. Adcock, this is Alex Guess. Can you tell the commission how the current COVID-19 pandemic may have impacted the church's ability to receive the letter in a timely manner or to respond in a timely manner?
Thank you,
Or if
sir.
it had any impact at all?
Obviously the COVID-19 has had an extreme effect on all of us doing business. And I believe I would suggest, sir, that there is good cause allowed because of the COVID-19. I mean, basically my law office, in fact, has been closed down. We've not been having in-person meetings, and my staff have been working remotely. It's been a very challenging environment to work within. And I think that in light of the fact that the church now has legal counsel, and in light of the fact that we've coming through a pandemic, that I am willing and able and prepared to file the AB 14 on behalf of the church as soon as possible, and allow the church the opportunity to be heard on the merits is what we're requesting, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You want to go into executive session to discuss this one? All right. So we're going to go into executive session to anything else before we go in, Mr. Adcock, you want to add before we go into executive session to deliberate on this motion?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right. Alexandra, can you put us into executive session so everybody except Ms. Rice and Mr. Peasley will be excluded? On, Mr. Peasley and Ms. Rice are also on. I don't see Ms. Morgan. I don't know if it's necessary. But Mr. Adcock, will you please unmute your mic and also your video?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We're prepared to vote on this matter. Do I hear a motion to continue this matter till the August session?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that, this is Alex Guest, I make a motion that we continue this until the August session.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mr. Wheeler seconds the motion, so we have a motion to continue this to the August session. And any further discussion? All in favor of granting that motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay, and it's unanimous. Mr. Adcock, what that means is if we get an AV 14 filed by the church prior to the August session, the procedure of the commission is you'll get a letter saying that the motion is now withdrawn to dismiss for a late AV 14.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
Okay, any questions or anything?
No, sir.
All right, well, and again, Mr. Adcock, your participation today, we appreciate it. This is the third one we've had. Tomorrow we have some hearings with witnesses. These have been motions today, and we've still got some more AB 14s to deal with, but if you have any suggestions for us to consider in these virtual hearings, please let Mr. Belfry know.
I certainly will, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
And thank Ms. Morgan for being an attendee.
Certainly will. Thank you, sir.
And again, I'd caution you about getting your AB 14 filed before our next session. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right. We'll, I think, just stay on the record for these, no use going off to handle these other AB 14s that are late or none of them filed. Mr. Belfry, do we know if anybody else is appearing on any of these others? Let's see, how many do we have? We've got the Chatham County David Sparrow matter and the Gaston County Harry Durnick. And then the others from Durham County have all been withdrawn. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, just to give you a little background on that. For the Durham County appeals, we received a request from an attorney. Those LLCs are related entities. They have retained an attorney. The attorney has filed the AB 14, and those, I mark those as being withdrawn. Mr. Purinek, I have been in contact with. He actually contacted me because he was not going to be able to participate in a virtual.
Well, I see that one's been continued.
Right, in a virtual hearing. I asked him, we sent him fresh copies of the AB 14 and asked him to send in a letter explaining why it was late and that we would continue the case pending that.
So that'll be back on in August.
That'll be back on if he doesn't file. Right.
So the only one we have then is the David Sparrow matter, is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Sparrow.
All right. Then we'll call the Chatham County case 19 Property Tax Commission 0684. This is here before us on the motion to dismiss or late or no AB 14. Is anybody here representing Chatham County or Mr. Sparrow? Alexander, is somebody else online? We've had no contact. So about notice, and have you had any contact with Mr. Sparrow?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is a little bit of an unusual situation, so if you give me some latitude, let me give you some backstory. Our office received, February 24th, our office received a letter from Mr. Sparrow. It appeared to be a notice of appeal. It did include a copy of a decision from the county board saying that the late application he's applied for the elderly exclusion, homestead exclusion, has been denied. So he sent this information in. He did not send anything but, we have nothing but a mailing address for Mr. Sparrow. We have no phone number or no email or anything like that. So that came in February 24th. Our office mailed a letter on February 25th acknowledging his notice of appeal. And we also included copies of the AB 14 with the instruction to complete them and return them to our office within 30 days. Again, that letter was dated February 25th, and we have not received any documentation from Mr. Sparrow. At some point along the way, and we have a little bit of an email chain among staff, where the county notified us actually in late February, so just shortly after we had mailed the acknowledgement letter in AB 14s. Someone with Chatham County emailed Scott Casey in our office and said that Mr. Sparrow was in a bad car accident in Florida and was in the hospital, and that was probably why he hadn't returned the documents. And so we held off on scheduling, but we still never got anything from him. Mr. Sparrow did contact Scott by telephone at some point, but Scott doesn't have that number. And so, based on my conversation with Scott, and my recollection is in that car accident, Mr. Sparrow lost his wife. And so we're kind of in a situation where we've mailed the forms to him, but we don't have any other way to get in touch with him. It ended up on the calendar because it's been so long. It's just part of several older appeals, even the church's one, that have been sitting there for a while waiting for somebody to file the AB 14. And so that's basically where we are on this. That's the backstory, but it boils down to we don't have an AB 14 from him. And they were requested back in February and due in March. And so Mr. Sparrow was notified of today's online meeting, but we've had no other contact with him and no way to contact him for today.
Let me ask you a question. If we go ahead and dismiss it today, he gets a notice. There is a process, I assume, where he could ask us to reconsider that if he had sufficient reason and if he was going to file an AB 14.
I'm not aware of that happening. So I suppose that's possible, but I think that here's a parallel situation. We have had situations in the past where an order went out and one of the parties said, well, no, that's not what I agreed to, or there was a withdrawal and an order went out closing the file and the appellant said, I didn't withdraw, or something like that. I think that theoretically, yes, there is a way to backtrack. I think my recommendation here would be one of two things: either dismiss it because it's late, or continue it and ask us to send out another set of AB 14s and try to reestablish contact with him.
You got those, we know, and you got notice of the meeting, and chances are he won't do anything. It'll be over.
Right.
I was just exploring the possibility since we had some unusual situations there, and we have been in difficult times. So
Mr. Chairman,
we can address that if it.
what's his address?
It's in Pittsburgh, Hamlet's Chapel Road in Pittsburgh.
Can't we get somebody from Chatham County to go out and try to make contact with him?
I'm sure we could. Again, I don't know. Our office has restricted person-to-person contact. I don't know if the county has too, but I do think that there could be some digging to figure out if there's a way to contact him other than by just mailing him something.
You want to continue it for 30 days? Sounds like there's some extenuating circumstances. So,
Doesn't hurt anything to continue.
yeah, and that'd save us from dismissing it. Come back having to deal with that.
I can't hear anything Alex is saying.
I'd like to see this continued with him being sent another set of AB 14s with a note that says that due to his circumstances, we're continuing this, but if he doesn't file the AB 14, then we will hear this to dismiss it. So,
Everybody okay with that? All right. Further discussion on that? We're still on the record on this one, right? Let's go ahead and somebody want to make that motion?
I move that we continue this and that we send the taxpayer a letter with another set of AB 14s instructed in the file, or we will hear this in the future.
I second.
All right. This is an aside. Terry, do you want somebody from our staff to take contact Chatham County, if they make some kind of
Sure.
contact? since it's unused. Okay. Everybody okay with that? All right, Mr. Gibbs, moves that we continue this matter until the August session. Second, Ms. Michaud. Any further discussion? All in favor of continuing this Chatham County case of Mr. Sparrows, 19 Property Tax Commission 0684 until the August session, say aye. Aye. Everybody okay? I didn't hear anybody but myself on that one. Yes. Everybody okay? All right, everybody voted aye. Mr. Peasley, you shaking your,
Aye.
Yes.
did you vote aye? Okay, he's shaking his head. We couldn't hear you then. All right. So that takes care of the calendar for today, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Kelsey?
Mr. Chairman, there's nothing more for the record.
All right, so let's go off the record and we'll end the streaming process. I assume there's no reason to keep streaming. Is there, Ms. Belford, any reason to streaming? Certainly we won't be on record.
No, sir, no reason to stream or record.
Okay. So Alexandra, can you eliminate the streaming and then you want to let, yeah. So Mr. Peace is still on and Ms. Rice is still on. Do we need Ms. Rice anymore?